Sewenga Isaacuni is a highly skilled training development specialist. He's motivated about providing leadership for complex sustainable development challenges, helping to connect dots and create values, and he's a creative thinker. He's a mentor, coach, and enabler. His purpose in life is to help people and organizations unlock their potentials. Just like a waterfall, being gas life flows in sequential progress, nourishing others as it flows along, producing vegetation and cooling effects. Welcome, Mr. Winga. I'm excited to have you in today's training session. You can meet yourself now and speak.
Okay, yeah. So thank you for having me, Sean, and everyone. Good afternoon. So we're just going to go straight into business. So we're able to cover a lot of ground and all of that. So please feel free to, if you have questions along the line, just drop your comment in the chat box. And I'm also planning to interact with us a lot on our portal, our training portal. So like our training for today centered on conflict management. So I'm going to take the first part of it. Then Rachel comes to talk with us on difficult conversation. I'm so happy that she's taking that, because if there's one thing that makes conflict management very difficult is how we manage difficult people, or even having some kind of conversation. And we're also going to see that part of it here might also be because of our conflict style. So for the conflict inventory that will give us, so don't worry, we're going to have a conversation around it here. You're going to submit it to me here live. So I'm going to tell you what you're going to do with that inventory that you feed. So without much ado, I think we should just go straight into our conversation. So, just a sec. So the purpose for our conversation this afternoon is just to arm you with the necessary tool for you to be able to handle personal and organizational conflict. I know when we're talking about conflict, I want you don't start thinking of the terrorist attack in Maiduguri or the conflict in the Middle East. I want you to begin to think about yourself even first, about how do you manage your day-to-day conflict. So that's what we talked about, personal conflict and organizational conflict, because sometimes or most times it's this failure to handle personal conflict or organizational conflict that leads to the bigger conflict in the community. And like a lot of us here, and I don't want to even say a lot of us, it's expected that everyone on this call, you're working to become better leaders, either better leaders politically or what. So please, if you have any question, just put your questions in the comment box. I see Bashir's hand is still up. Maybe it's the former one, or he's asking a new question. So maybe he has not been able to bring down the former hand that was up. So, but please, if you have any question at this time, just put it in the chat box. But you have room and time to be able to speak and share. So the goal is just to arm us with the tool to manage your personal conflict and organizational conflict. So if I may ask, once you hear the word conflict, what comes to your mind? Just use the chat box, because I know a lot of us have network issues. So if your network is if you are struggling with your network, you can just off your video for now, so that you can go along. When it's time to use the video, I'll ask you to put up your video again. So if you hear the word conflict, what comes to mind? Just put it in the chat box, one word. When you hear conflict, if I say like 2 to 3, 5 or 10 people, then I will continue. Just take a minute, put in the chat box. If you hear the word conflict, what comes to mind? Disagreement, yes. Okay, we have from Leadtots again, disagreement. Yeah, let's keep having. Somebody say fight. Michael, yeah, thank you, Michael. Joshua said misunderstanding between parties.
Sorry, Mr. Giga.
Yeah.
Well, I want to just give this announcement briefly. Kindly use your original name. Do not change your name to Leadtots on the Zoom platform. Use your original name.
So I was thinking, thank you for catching that. I thought it was you that even posted that. So clash of interest, disagreement, misunderstanding that leads to fight. Somebody say grudges, crisis, unrest, a serious disagreement, typically protracted one, angry argument. Yeah. So if struggle or an opposition. So we can see a lot of self-centeredness, incompatible, lack of understanding. Hopefully, I'm not giving them the handout, show. Okay, not yet. Okay, insatiability. So now, okay, variance. Okay, I think variance, disagreement, conflict is clash of interest. The basis of conflict may be various part of society. So if I may ask a question, you can unmute to say something. Now, looking at everything we have all shared, having different view of perspective, a couple of us, all of the words you've seen, are those positive or negative words? Those words we've dropped on the, so anybody can just mute, because misunderstanding, fighting, conflict, disagreement. Yeah, somebody said negative, 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 negative. Okay, so I'll come back to all of those words we've dropped in the box, because we've talked, and a lot of us, we've rightly identified that when you hear the word conflict, the first thing that comes to your mind, somebody say both. When you say both, what does it mean? That person can unmute themselves and speak. The person that said both. Your name is wrote Leadtots, so I can't really call your name. They're all negative. Well, yes, thank you, Joshua. Abdul Malik, negative. Yeah. So, Sean, can you identify that person that said both? The person said Leadtop. I just want to hear, why did you say both? When you mean both, do you mean all of them, or do you mean both negative and positive?
Oh,
Yeah, Matthew, you said both. Is somebody speaking? Matthew, when you say both, what do you mean? I just want to hear contribution from the two people that said both. I'll come back to the guys that said negative. Don't worry. Pick some selection there, yeah.
Okay, good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say both in the sense that it can be negative and also it can be positive. We do have disagreement for positive change, and also we have also disagreement that will lead to negative change. So it differs, because when all those words being stated in the chat room, they can be either positive or they can be either negative. But it depends on which aspect is resulting to.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So what's your name?
Matthew David.
Okay, Matthew David. Thank you, Matthew David. And thank everyone for what you've shared. But let's look at this definition. I'll come back to what Matthew David and every one of you have shared in the group. So conflict is a strong disagreement based on a perceived incompatibility in needs or interests among individual, groups, community, or country. So if you see, a lot of you talked about the word disagreement, and a lot of you mentioned about that it's about being a disagreement between two parties. But when you hear the word perceived incompatibility, what does it mean? Okay, Rosemary from Gombe, you're the one using Leadtop. Okay, thank you, Rosemary. Somebody say absolutely negative. Okay, we'll come back to that. We'll hear from Baba Mohammed Isa. So when you hear the word incompatibility in needs, what does it mean? Anyone, you can unmute yourself and speak. I know Zoom, a lot of us are getting used to Zoom and all of that. Yeah.
Okay, they can't automatically unblock themselves
Okay,
or mute
okay.
themselves,
Or
but
they
they can
accept
raise their hands up,
Okay.
then I will unmute them.
Okay, who wants to share? When you hear something is incompatible or perceived, most especially the word perceive. The word perceive, what does it mean to you? Anyone that wants to share, please raise your hand so we can call you. Matthew, no, Matthew, let's take someone else, then we'll invite you. Thank you for volunteering, Matthew. I appreciate that. I think somebody else's hand is optional. I don't know the name, it's not showing. I have 3 hands up, so just take.
Yeah. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I can hear you.
Yeah. Incompatibility to me, I think is two different perspectives that are not in alignment, and they don't want to be in alignment. That's
okay. They don't want to be in alignment. What of perceive? Do you want to share on the word perceive?
Perceived.
Yeah.
I think is something that is not real, factual.
Okay. Yeah, it might not be factual. Okay. Let's take a female voice. Just one more female voice, then we'll move on. 2 things didn't match. Yes. Thank you, Mohammed. Hassan. Shion, just take, if there's a lady among the hands up, just pick one for us.
Okay, Rosemary, unmute yourself and speak. Okay, I can see. I'll just skip her. I heard is Sanusi Mato.
Assumption, yes. Thank you, Javin. Something not confirmed yet. Yeah.
Yes, Sanusi.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, all.
Yeah, good afternoon, Sanusi.
Yes, sir. When we say incompatibility, I see it in the way that something that cannot reconcile to our own views. So we see it as incompatible, maybe to our culture, traditions, or beliefs that we already built in. So it's incompatible to our own existing
Mm-hmm.
views. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, like we've all shared. Thank you, everyone, that your hand is up. Though we can't take
Yes,
everyone.
sir.
You've all
Yes,
you've
sir.
all said the right thing. Becoming aware or unconscious of something. When so our definition say that conflict is just a strong disagreement based on perceived. And like the first speaker said, when you perceive something, it might not be real. It might not be real. So when we say it's perceived, it might not be a reality. But it's always most times it's about the issue of needs or interest among individual. It could be group, it could be community, it could be even among countries. So that's conflict. It's about strong disagreement. And a lot of you totally agree with it by using the word strong disagreement. So I come back to my former question that I was asking, that is conflict positive or negative? So a lot of us, it's not native, that is autocorrect. So it's not the word native, it's negative. So is conflict positive or negative? And a lot of us says it's negative. And somebody says it can either be positive or negative. So if you look back to our definition, when you say something is strong, and no, I think is it Matthew or one of you said sometimes something good comes out from what? Conflict. When there's a strong disagreement, when two of us have conversation or we move and we're able to resolve it, we might come out with positive result. So now if something is neither positive or negative, or if it's both, what word do we use for that? What word do we use for the term, for those of us that are in mathematics or in physics, or not, when something is and not positive and it's not negative, what does that mean? Yeah, what term do we use for that? Neutral, yes, Javelin, neutral. So conflict, the term conflict is not positive, it's neither positive or negative. So we're going to see that by the time we go. Yeah, neutral. Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Thank you. Not defined. Balance equation. Yes. Some people are beginning to take us into physics and mathematics here. So let's not go into physics and math and chemistry and scare those that are not doing physics and math. So the term conflict in itself, most times when you hear conflict, what comes to your mind is about the fight, the crisis, the killing. But we're saying this afternoon that the term conflict itself is neutral. It depends on your own reaction to it, how you perceive it. Remember, we use the word perceive, disagreement. Your reaction to a conversation, how you respond. So if you respond in a negative way, then at that point you say conflict has produced a negative result. If you see conflict as something that has a positive outcome, for example, with your colleagues, as young leaders in the community, as young people that have come to this event. So one thing that is, as someone said, equilibrium. Yeah, so it's neutral. So what the skills we're trying to imbibe in you from every session you've been learning is for you to begin to approach disagreement with others. It's for you to begin to approach issues. People that have different, I think Mohammed or the last speaker talked about, sorry, I'm trying to grasp all of your names. So if I give someone's name a different name, please pardon me. So the last speaker, the last young man that spoke, talked about that when you have different view about people in your community or ideology. Yeah. So we're beginning to say that the way you respond to that different view, you should respond. If you respond in a positive way, you get a positive outcome. If you respond in a negative way, you get a negative outcome. So conflict itself, it's not the one that is negative. Conflict itself is not the one that is positive, but the way you respond to it. So, and for us for me as an individual, and for the organization and for Leadtots, by bringing us together, equipping us with a lot of these various skills, Leadtots is saying that you should begin to see conflict as things that you can learn from, as things that you can resolve. So, and as young leaders, that will either become politicians or business leaders or even community leaders or even president or of establishment, if you begin to see conflict as an opportunity to find a long-lasting solution, then you are heading towards the right direction. So the concept of conflict itself, if there's anything you pick away from this conversation this afternoon, is that the concept of conflict itself is neutral. Conflict is neither positive or negative, but the way you respond to it But we're encouraging you, and part of the skills we're going to be equipping you this afternoon, both in my session and in Rachel's session, is for you to be able to respond to conflict in a positive way, to come out with positive outcome, to choose to respond in a positive way and equip you with skills that can always make you come out with positive outcome in all of the disagreement or conflict situation you will find yourself in life. Is there any question at this time? Is there any question? Okay, don't worry, we'll still have room for. So if there's no question, we're going to move into our exercise. Can you all put on your videos, get your papers, your A4 papers, drop everything you're holding, just get your A4 paper. So you're going to do something for me. I'm going to read out and some instruction. So what you're going to do is that, can everybody raise up your A4 so that we can see? Your A4 papers, let's have it handy. Can I see your A4 papers? Just show it to me. Yeah, that's good. So now you're going to need your two hands to do that. So if we all have our A4 papers, now all you have to do, just you listen to me. You don't ask me any question. Just do what you understand based on the instruction of what I'm going to ask you to do. I wish you can sit down, but if you feel comfortable standing doing it and you can still hear me fine, you can do the exercise standing, you can do it sitting. So can we all close our eyes? Just close your eyes while holding your paper. Close your eye while holding your paper. So just listen to me and follow the instruction.
You can put on your video so that we can.
Yes, everybody put on your videos. Yeah. So by the time, so can you close your eyes? So fold your paper in half. Fold your paper in half. The paper you are holding, fold it in half. Your eyes closed. The first instruction is fold your paper in half. I hope we have all done that. So the second instruction, fold the paper in half again. Remember, the first instruction is that you fold your paper in half. So fold it in half the second time. Your eyes still closed. Now, tear off, remove. That's what I'm doing now. Tear off the bottom right corner. Tear off the bottom right corner. Remember, the first instruction was that you fold your paper in half. The second instruction, I say you should fold the paper in half again. Then the third instruction is that you tear off the bottom right corner of your paper. Tear it off. Then the fourth instruction, turn the paper upside down. Turn the paper upside down. So the last instruction, tear off the bottom right corner. Tear off the bottom right corner. So open your eyes. Open your eyes. We can all open our eyes. Open your paper. And let's see all our paper on the screen. Show your paper to the screen. Open your paper like the A4. Open it. Yeah, can you show your paper so that we can all see? Yeah, I'm straying. I'm looking at people's paper. So take a run. As you're looking at your paper, be looking at the paper of every of your colleagues. Look at your own paper. Some people are not raising their paper. Some people are still doing it. No, time up already. Yes, look at other people. Look at their papers. Look at yours. Look around. Just look around. So what can you notice? What can you notice? Let's take one or two people you can speak. Raise your hand. Let's see. What can you notice? Now that you have looked around at every other person's paper and looking at your own. Yes. Alaji Sanusi Mato. Yeah. Let's take Alaji. Let's hear from him.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So what can you see?
A majority have teared the middle of their papers. There is a hole in the middle.
Okay, but that means we also have people that don't have holes in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So where's your own hole in your own paper?
My own, the holes in both angles and one in the middle.
Okay, so how do you feel when you saw that your paper looked different from others? You can take somebody else. There's another hand up.
I feel like I'm wrong.
Okay, you feel like that you're wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Alaji Mato. Next, shows there's some other hands up. I can't see their name. You can also help me call them out.
Isa, you can speak now.
Yeah, Isa.
Well, I can see different styles while following the same instruction.
Okay, do anyone think they have done, okay, Elijah said he did his own wrong. He feels he has done the wrong thing. So who else felt that way? When you saw other people and their paper, who else felt, oh, maybe have done what was not correct? When you saw the papers, who else felt they have done, yes, I can see Suleiman Zainab, her hand is up. Can we take Suleiman Zainab?
Okay, Zainab, unmute yourself. Zainab, you can unmute yourself and speak. Okay.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. So, do you feel you're wrong?
Yes, sir. I think I was wrong because I have 2 holes on my paper. So I think I was wrong with what I did.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Zainab. Thank you, Zainab.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So now my question will be, who think they are right? Who think they are right, that they did the right thing? Who is confident that, yes, I did the right thing? Shion, can you help me call one? I think some hands are up, so they are confident that they did the right thing. Yeah.
Okay, some of the hands have been up earlier.
Oh, okay.
Edmond, can you speak?
No, sir. I wanted to say I was absolutely wrong because initially I was I was contemplating. Was it okay? The bottom corner, you know. So initially I now went to the middle and cut on paper. So when I now got the instruction, I discovered it's the wrong thing. So I was totally wrong.
Okay. Okay. So how can I know? How could there be so many interpretations when I gave everyone the same instruction? So why do we have different shape of papers? Some have even 7 holes, some have 2 holes, some have 3, some have 4. So how could we have different interpretation of the same instruction? What happened? Matthew? Yeah.
Okay. What happened? What really happened there is that is the way we perceive things, the way you perceive yours, and the way you interpret yours differs. That's what affects us. Why we got the same information but different result, because everyone receive his own based on his own reasoning, the way he reasoned it and the way he understood. So I think it's the understanding and the way of personality that is the conception, personal. This idea that result to different answers or different solutions.
Yeah. So thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Godfrey. Thank you, everyone. So there's no right or wrong way of doing this exercise. What just happened now is that we all responded to this exercise based on our understanding, based on our interpretation, based on the way we perceive the instruction. So now let me ask a question. So now let's assume that the way you understood this instruction is the way you handle your opinion in life. What does this exercise teach you about perspective? What have you learned about the issue of having different perspective? Remember, we said the definition of conflict, we said is perceived misunderstanding. And I gave an assignment and I gave the same instruction to everyone, but we all came out with different results. We have some that are similar, we have some that are different. So what does this exercise teach you about perspective in life? What have you learned about perspective? Yes, anyone, you can speak. Yes, Abdul Malik, Isa? Yes, you can off your video now, but I will call you later on to bring out on your video and everybody put your paper so we can take a clip shot of our beautiful cut-out paper. So Abdul Malik, go ahead, you can speak.
Yes, I think for me, as I understood the issue is having different perspective from others will not make you feel discouraged or feel unattached from the society. So whenever you have different perspective about something, which maybe the majority of the people have different perspective from your own, should not make you feel discouraged because you may be right and they may be wrong.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Abdul Malik. Let's take Pascali. Thank you, Rosemary. Always learn to view things differently. What I learned is that we should respect other people's view. Thank you, Matthew. Yes, Pascali, you can unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah, like the other colleague rightly said, it depends on how you understand it and when you feel you have from a different perspective with the others, it doesn't make you. It makes you feel whether you're right. It doesn't make you feel whether you're right or wrong, but let it just be. That's your own perspective. So sometimes you need to like go
Yeah.
for a resolution and then agree on one thing.
On
Thank you.
one thing. So thank you, Pascali. That is, it's very important that we view this exercise, this paper folding exercise, has shown us that people have different opinion. I know a lot of you were quick to condemn yourself. You say, "Oh, I was wrong. I didn't do it right." No, you didn't do it wrong. You only interpreted the information based on your understanding. Because for everybody, it also depends on how you are holding the paper. For some persons, they might be holding the paper like this. Some, they might be holding the papers like this. So it depends on your position at that time or how you view things. And so when you begin to see and listen to others, first, you know that it's the same instruction, but the way you understood it was different. The way you were holding your paper when you folded it in half will also give us different directions. So it's very, very important that you begin to look at things differently from different perspectives. And you can learn also from people that have different view from you. So it's so very important. So thank you everyone for participating in that exercise of paper folding, just for us to bring home the reason why there are always different view. Sometimes you don't think you are wrong. And for some of you too, you always condemn yourself. Oh, my idea is not useful. If I say it, they will not listen to me. But no, you have to share it. You have to also know that your view counts, but you also need to count that the view of other people can. So can we up on our video, put our paper up so that Shion can take Bashi, is that a question? Bashi, do you have a question? Yeah, so can we all put up our paper? Shion, have you taken the picture or you're okay with what you have now?
I will have to, can you stop your screen sharing for a while?
Okay, so you can see. Okay, I can come back. Okay, take your picture. So can we all bring back our papers so Shion can get this quickly? We do that. Yeah, on your videos and raise up your paper. Let's do that in 1 second, please. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yes,
put your paper in your front. You can put it in your front and also use to, yeah, like hold it like that in beautiful different way. Yeah.
Okay.
Rosemary, your own paper even turned into 2. Rosemary's papers went into 2.
Okay, I think I'm done. You can go ahead.
Done. Mohammed, I can see it. Okay, let me reshare back my screen. Bashi, do you have a question? Your hand is still up, or is it the former hand that is up? Yeah, you can off your videos if the network is slow for you. Just listen in.
Bashi, you can speak up.
I think it's the former one.
Okay.
Bashi? Okay.
I guess its network is poor.
Yeah. So let's continue. Yes, we've done that. We've had our discussion. So the conflict style. Can you all please bring your conflict inventory, the assignment that you did, have it handy with you on your table. So can you get your notebook? So now you remember we've talked about that we all have different perspective in life. We all have different view. And also for every time we have conflict, we have disagreement, each of us have a way we respond to them. So number one key to managing conflict is for you to identify your conflict management style. And when we say conflict management style, it doesn't really mean that is the way you respond always. But most times, 80 out of 100, when you are in a dispute, when you're in a conflict, you have a way you respond. So this exercise this afternoon is to help you. Because number one way for you to be able to manage conflict is first to know how you respond to conflict. So when you know how you respond to conflict, then you know the best style to use. So there are about there are a couple of conflict management style that research has brought to that every human being on earth either respond primarily using one of those conflict style. So this afternoon we're going to help you facilitate knowing your conflict style, and that's why you had that inventory that you do. So if you have your inventory with you, I want you to get a sheet of paper in front of you first. What you're going to do is just draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. You know, you have 30. There were 30 questions that I gave us. So draw 5 columns on your paper, on your notebook that you've been using for this conference. So write competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating. For those that might be watching us live, because you don't have the conflict inventory, you didn't do it with us, we can always give you the link to go back and do it yourself. So I'm giving you a minute to do that. Once you've done it, you can wave, you can use any of the chat sign to let us know. So just draw 5 columns write competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating. So I'll give you 2 minutes to do that. When you're done, give me a sign, say done. Don't write anything yet. Those, I will tell you what those A, B in it mean, because you will not have all of them on your own. So we'll do that based on the assignment that you have done already. Done. Thank you, Mohammed. Let's do that quickly. We have 2 minutes more. Basically, what you just need is at the top of the paper in your book, just write. So when majority are done, I'll proceed. Just write competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating. Maybe to help those watching, I might just read out the question that we used. It can also help them to. So now you can get your assignment that you have done. So for those of us in your assignment, we gave you some questions to cycle. So you either cycle A or B. And so first I need to give out a disclaimer that there's no right or wrong answers in that assignment that you did, but you have to choose one. You have to have one choice that you have chosen from it. So it's just a self-assessment to help you discover your conflict management style. So the first question, question 1, if you cycled A as your choice, go under avoiding and write A. You should go under avoiding and write A. But if you cycled B, you should go under accommodating and write the letter B. Remember that you cannot have the 2 on your own sheet. I'm the only one that is permitted to have 2 on my sheet here because I facilitated the process for you. So if your answer was A, go and write A under avoiding. If your answer was B, you do that. So you can repeat that for every other. So question 2, if you cycled B as your answer, go under B and cycle B. Go under A. If your answer was A, go under compromising. You can just follow what we have on the screen. So I've done the 30 of them for you. So question 3, if your answer was A, put your A under competing. If your answer was B, if you cycled B, you cannot cycle 2. I repeat again. Remember, but for each question, you cannot cycle both A and B. So it's either you have cycled A, or you have cycled B. And remember, there's no right or wrong answer. Choose the one that is close. Even if you respond most times using those 2, choose the one that is much more higher. So, for example, like question 3 say, I know what I want and I go for it. The B said, I sometimes aim to make the other person feel better in order to end a conflict. So if that's how you reply, you can only cycle B. So you come and put your B under accommodating. So question 4, if your answer was A, put it under compromising. If your answer was B, like that. Let's move quickly so we'll be able to run through. Question 5, Sam, if you cycled A was your answer, you should have your A under collaborating. That means in the remaining distance, you should not have anything written down. Question 6, if your answer was B, put your B here. Then you don't need to have anything here. But if you chose A, put the A under avoiding. Same thing for 7. If your B was your answer, then you should be under compromising. You should not have anything. Same thing we are in question 8. This 9, 10. Question 10. If you chose A, put it under competing and all of that. Question 11. If you chose B as your answer, you should put the B under accommodating. If you chose A as your answer, you put A under collaborating. Remember, you can only choose one. You can't choose both of them. 12. Yeah, Abdul Malik. Yeah, where are you lost? Come back. Unmute yourself and speak, Abdul Malik. Yes, we're waiting for you, Abdul Malik.
The problem is that the sheet we are having is in our phone, and we're having this screen as a guide.
I don't know. You can just listen to me. So if you follow the first thing, The first instruction I've told you, right? If you write competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating on your paper, forget
Yes,
about the screen. Just listen to so listen to my voice and follow. So you can go back to your I'll go back to question. I'll go back to the first slide again. So I'm back to the first slide. So now, if you have written that down, you can go away from the screen so that you can use your phone if you have answered it on your phone already. So what I'm saying is that, for example, I'm starting from 1 again. I will run through. If you chose A, go and write A under avoiding. That is the only thing you will write there, because you cannot choose B. But any person that chose B as their answer, go and put the B under accommodating. Is that clear, Abdul Malik? Then question 2. If your answer was B, the B should be under collaborating. If your answer was A, it should be under compromising. The question was sent to everybody. I don't know who asked the this thing. So you can take the question later. The question was shared with everybody. So for question 3, if you chose A as your answer, the A should be under competing. If you chose B as your answer, put your B under accommodating. For question 4, if you chose A as your answer, put it under compromising. If you chose B as your answer, put it under accommodating. For question 5, if you chose A as your answer, put it under collaborating. If you chose B as your answer, put it under avoiding. Question 6, if your B was your answer, your B should be under competing. If A was your answer, you should have the A under avoiding. For question 7, if B was your answer, your B should be under compromising. If A was your answer, put it under avoiding. For question 8, if you chose A as your answer, put the A under so you can have the question later on, and somebody you can do it, but just follow Mohammed Hassan. Just listen to how you do it, so that by the time you have the paper, you can do it later on your own. So if A was your answer for question 8, it should be under competing. If B was your this thing, if B was your answer, you should put it under collaborating. Yeah, I think Shion will send the question to those that have not accessed it later on, but I think it was emailed to everyone last night. So for question 9, if A was your answer, put your A under avoiding. If B was your own answer, your B should be under competing. For question 10, if A was your answer, you should put your A under competing. If B was your answer, the B should be under compromising. So I move to 11. So the same thing, if A was your answer, have your A under collaborating. If you chose B as your answer, your B should be under accommodating. If A was your answer, A should be under collaborating. If for question 12, if you circled A as your answer, put your A under avoiding. If you are the one that circled B as your answer, put the B under compromising. For question 13, if A was your answer, put it under compromising. If B was your answer, put it under competing. Question 14, if A was your answer, put it under collaborating. If B was your answer, put it under competing. For question 15, if A was your answer, you should put it under accommodating. Then if B was your answer, you put it under competing. For question 17, sorry for that person experiencing fire outbreak. For if 17, if A was your answer, it should be under competing. If B was your answer, you should put it under avoiding. For question 18, if you circled A as your answer, put the A under accommodating. If you circled B as your answer, put it under compromising. For question 19, if you chose A as your answer, put it under you should put it under A. So remember, you're only choosing 1, you're not choosing 2. So if your own answer was B, you should put it under avoiding. Question 20, if A was your answer, the A should be under collaborating. If you are the one that chose B, put it under this. So the last 10 question, I'll leave it also here. Just look at it, the same thing. Then we're now going to total according to our distance. So for question 21, if you chose A as your answer, put the A under accommodating. For question, if B, it should be under collaborating. 22, if A was your answer, it should be under collaborating, then B under avoiding. 24, you can say there, A should be under accommodating. If you chose B as your answer, put it under compromising. 25, If A was your answer, put it under competing. If B was your own answer, put it under accommodating. Question 26. If compromising, if A was your answer, you put it under compromising. If B was what you chose, put it under collaborating. So question 27. If A was what you responded to, put it under avoiding. If B was your own answer, the B should be under accommodating. For question 28, if A was your answer, put it under competing. If B was your answer, put it under collaborating. Question 29, if A was your answer, put it under compromising. If B was your answer, put it under avoiding. So the last question, if A was your answer, put it under accommodating. If B was your answer, put it under collaborating. So what you're going to do, for those of us that are done totally, don't worry, others, we can always help you out in the discussion forum or on the forum later on. So if what you're going to do now, total the alphabet that you have in each of your columns. So start from question 1 till now. So total the number of alphabet you have here, write the number here. So it could be that there are 10, it could be 8, you write 8 here. Go under collaborating, total the number of alphabet you have, put it here. Go under compromising, total the number of alphabet you have, put it here. Under avoiding, total the number of alphabet you have, put it here. Under accommodating, total the number of alphabet you have, put it there. So if you calculate like this and all of that, your answer needs to equal 30. If you score more than 30, then you've not done it very well. So go back, you total from here to down the number of alphabet you have, total from here, number of alphabet. You know that you cannot have 2. Like for question 1, you cannot cycle both A and B. You should only have 1. The same thing for question 2. So if anyone is done, let me know. Once we have 5, 7 people done, we'll go to the next. You just listen to the process. You can go ahead later on and do it. I know it usually takes time to do it, but just understand the process, then you can do it.
Can you go to the next slide, sir?
Sure.
Go to the next slide. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Uma, are you done? Or is a question? Once you're done totaling, let me know. You cannot say, I am done totaling in the chat box. Let me be the chat box and see what you're doing. Okay, Uma, you're done. Okay. Emmanuel, you're done. Remember, like we said, it's done. Rosemary is done. I'll go back again to the first slide. I'm not reading it. I just want to tell you what you do. Once you have these 5, once you have the 5 written, the 5 conflict style that we have universally. So you already have some questions that's with you. If you cycle A, if A was what you cycled, you should put the A under avoiding. If it was B that you cycle, you put the B. But in each question, you cannot have A and B. You either choose the one. So if I were you, I can take the picture of this scoring sheet and I can do it later on. For those of us that have not finished, you can do it later on. So remember that your total answer must be 30 because it's 30 questions. So for those of you that have highest under competing, what it means is that when you're in a conflict, the number 1 style that you use to respond is competing. If collaborating was your highest number, that you have the highest number, it means you like collaborating. If compromising was the highest, that means that is your primary way you respond to conflict. Yes, some Grace has accommodating. So it means that's your primary style. Sometimes some people have 2 highest number in 2 places, and as you also grow as a leader, sometimes it's difficult to even have highest in one of them. You move around. And so we will need to also throw out the caveat that there's no right style here and there's no best conflict style. It just means you respond to conflict. It just means that you respond to conflict primarily that way. So as leaders, so what we are advocating, or what we are proposing to you this afternoon, is that you need to know all of these styles. You need to know your primary styles, but we're going to tell you how best you can use them. Because as leaders, you are not supposed to be stuck with your primary style, because sometimes you need to use different styles depending on what happened. For example, if you are an avoider, as a leader, you cannot keep avoiding things for your life. You cannot keep avoiding conflict all your life. You need to find a way to respond. So, but are there times that avoiding as a style is important? Yes, absolutely. So we're going to talk about how these styles are applied. So I'm going to give a minute for everybody to just look at it. Look at the style. Yes, you can keep dropping your conflict style, the one you have highest, the first and the second one highest in your group. So these are the five conflict styles that we have. It's avoiding, accommodating, competing, compromising, or problem solving. So if you look at here, it's called collaborating.
Collaborating.
Yes, it's used interchangeably. So it's either you call it problem solving or collaborating. Thank you, Sean. So it's used interchangeably. So if you see it in some literature, they call it this thing. But for me, I always like calling it problem solving, because you're working together with other people to be able to find this. And remember, don't hide. You know, a lot of people, when they see that avoiding is the highest, they don't want to share. And that's why I said there's no right or wrong style. It just means that is how you primarily respond. So we're going to have a conversation around how does this style apply. So one thing you need to know is that most times people use each of these styles depending on the outcome they are looking for, or how you value the relationship with the person you are in conflict with. So the importance of outcome and relationship always determine what style you use. So we all have dominant style, like I've said, but most times what happens is, for a lot of us and for what we're advocating, is that you need to always check what is the outcome. And I know when you go through the Rachel's session later on, when she's talking about even having difficult conversation, there's also going to be an issue around outcome and relationship. How do you value the relationship? How do you value an outcome? And how do you count the cost in terms of having difficult conversation? So now let's look at it in practice. So I'm going to invite. So once something is important to you, you have the outcome. You know, this is a, here means it's high, here means it's high, here means it's low, here means it's the middle. So once the outcome of a situation is important to you over the relationship, what style do you think the people will use? For people that everything about life is about the outcome, it's about the result, they don't care about anything, what style do you think they'll use? Yes, please go ahead. Just unmute yourself. Asia Abubakar. Asia Abubakar, you can speak. Asia, your hand was up. Or you can drop it in the chat box. Once the outcome is important to you over the relationship, what style do you think the person will use? If you're in a situation and you need to find result quickly, what style should the person use? Quickly, people, are you with me? Somebody said, Javin said, use compromise. Yeah. Remember, competing. Yes, Grace Abubakar said competing. Yeah. So yeah, Grace is absolutely right. Once the outcome is important to you, you compete. You compete. So people that always want to win, always competing. But remember, I also said the what do you call it? The condition matters. Each styles are important. Sometimes there's a time for competing, and there's also time that you don't need to compete. So for example, let's say we are all in the same room now and there's a fire outbreak, and Sean is our leader. Sean wants us to leave the room. It's not that time that Sean will start talking about, guys, let's come together, let's see how we'll do. Sean is going to send everybody out at once. Why? Because there's an emergency. But Sean primarily style might be accommodating, but at that particular time there's a danger. Sean has to send people out. So at that particular time, using the completing style is important. So when the outcome is high and you're low on relationship, you compete. He wants result at that time. She wants result. But if you're here on the call and your primary style is competing, then you need to also watch out. You don't know that if you compete a lot every time, you will not have a lot of friends, or sometimes you will not even solve the problem. So you need to know, do I always want to win an argument? Do I always want to win in a conversation? When you're with your friends, when you're people, do you always want to win? Then you might need to know, how do I learn other conflict style that will help me to be able to do that. So the next question will be that when the outcome does not concern you, you are low on the outcome, and you care about the relationship. You want the relationship to be highest. What kind of style do you use? What style? You can drop it in the box. What do you think the style the person will use? Avoiding, accommodating. Yeah, I think the Precious says avoiding. Yes. You avoid. You avoid. Avoiding. Don't worry, when you get the handout later on, it's going to explain more to you. I know we don't have a lot of time. Yes, Margaret Maxwell. You avoid. You avoid. You don't want trouble. I know there are a lot of people here every time. No, me, I don't want trouble. Me, I don't want trouble. But as a leader, if your primary style of responding to conflict is avoiding, then you need to work on it. Because if you avoid a lot, then you don't get things done, and you delay, you procrastinate. And sometimes things get bad before you respond. Or sometimes people take advantage of you. Pausa, is there a question? Pause, do you have a question? If you have a question, you can drop it in the chat box. So we'll come back to take it.
Drop in the chat box.
Yes. So if you have a question, yes, avoiding. So, but it's important that if you are here as a leader, please don't always avoid. Avoiding has its place. There's sometimes you avoid. But what makes you a good leader is to know when to avoid. But if your primary style is always to avoid conflict, you don't speak out, you don't do anything. And that's unfortunately, that's what we have in our society. It doesn't concern me. I won't say anything. And look at what it has brought us to. It doesn't concern me. Look at where we are now as a society. So you don't need to avoid. You need to speak out. So once you have that you are high on the importance, and maybe you're having like a middle ground of both importance and outcome, what style do you think you use? You can drop it in the chat box. You care about the outcome and you care about the relationship. You accommodate, okay. Joyce said accommodate. Godfrey said collaborating. Yeah, let me see if I can see one more. Problem solving. Mohammed Hassan, is there a question or you want to compromising? Accommodating. So you are high on relationship. Sorry, maybe my question wasn't that very clear. You are high on relationship, but you are low on the outcome. You care about the relationship. You don't want to lose your friend. You accommodate at that time. You accommodate. So is there a question from Mohammed Adamu? Mohammed, is there a question? If it's a question, please go ahead. Okay, since he's not speaking, I think it's a question. So when you are high on relationship and you are low on outcome, you accommodate. And it's important. It also has its place. But you also need to know when to accommodate or when not to accommodate. So I'll give you time when you go to the handout, you do that. So like the other one we're talking, which was the answer, you compromise when it's a 50-50. And if you want high outcome and high relationship, is the last one already. You all know what the one will be, is the problem solving. Ideally, in an ideal situation, problem solving is what is encouraged. Problem solving, but it has its own advantage and disadvantage. It's time consuming, it takes resources, and so sometimes it gives, this problem solving gives a 50-50 solution. Not beyond 50-50 solution. What I mean 50-50 is even, yes, 50-50, but here it gives a last longing solution. So I should not use a percentage here. It makes you to find solution that is by the both parties and it lasts long. But sometimes people avoid problem solving because it takes time. You have to do a lot of that. So, but the ideal situation we are pushing that is either you are compromising or collaborating. Either you are compromising, a 50-50 meet on the neutral ground, or to try to collaborate to find solutions. So as leaders, and I think that's what Leadtop will want of us, is that we should go towards the point that we begin to collaborate to solve our community problems, begin to collaborate to solve issues around us. So, like I've said, none of this style, there's nothing wrong with any of them. They're all important. They're all good style. But as a leader, you must know the 5 style so that you know when to accommodate, you know when to compromise, you know when to avoid, you know when to compete. But if your primary style is avoiding, you need to start pushing towards maybe trying to start compromising, accommodating, and but competing also has its place. But if you always compete, then you'll not be a good and effective leader. No matter we're preaching about servant leadership, I know whoever might have spoke to you about leadership has talked about the kind of leadership that Leadtop is pushing for, the leadership that serves the community, the leadership that takes everybody along. Is serving leaders, not the self-serving leaders that we have in our society, that we want to turn things around. Want leaders that are sacrificial, that have integrity. And so if you want to have the one that have integrity, you should not compete always. But we say competing is wrong. No, it only means that when anything happens, that is how you respond. Is there any question? Because I think that's where we're going to pause. I'm going to give you some after session assignment that you do, that you'll be able to know. So when you get the handout on this session, it will tell you more on the 5 conflict style. I don't know if anybody has any question on the conflict style. Remember that the one you score the highest is your primary response way, but it's not bad. What we're telling you to do is to work on it and try to know the 5. So as leader, you need to know how to use these 5 conflict style. And the more you grow your emotional intelligence, you grow how to use your social media, technology, all of what you have covered in this, and what Rachel is also going to be taken after now. You apply all of these conflict style. They are very, very important. You need to know when to use them, and you need to know when to apply them. Is there any question? If there's no question, this is the after session reflection. So this is what we're going to do. So you're going to go to the forum. You're going to post response to any of these questions. So you can take any of the question here. So it's either you take the first question, go to there. I want you to have a conversation from it that how might what you have learned in this course impact how you manage conflict now. So before coming to this class, there's a way you manage conflict, even before knowing your conflict style. Or for those of you that know it before now and you're reminded, after now that you have learned this, everything you have learned from this session, that you also even still learn from Rachel's session, and Rachel will also give you our own assignment. So how might what you have learned help you manage conflict now as a leader? Or you can take the second question. What is a perspective, concept, or discussion around conflict management style you find challenging? What do you find challenging about the conversation we've had? Then the next one, there are 2 questions to do. I want you to read what other people have shared. You're going to go what to other of your colleagues have shared. Then you're going to post a reply to another participant whose comment you find interesting. Anyone that you find interesting, you do it. So you see this on your page, you respond to it. So here, you take one and discuss it on that page, on that forum. I will come in and I will interact with each of your contribution. I might ask you further questions. I might interact with you. Then the second one, you read your other colleagues' response, either 1 or 2. You can do more than 1. The more you find interesting, engage with them and have conversation with them on their group. So any question for me as I wrap up and take a bow to, I'll come back again after Rachel's session for us to continue our conversation.